Hi you guys, this is Irene, and I wanted to come to you just with a short video on gender roles, male and female, okay, gender roles. And I just wanted to address something. I'm so sorry, a spider just leaped up like that high outside of my window. I have to get used to being in Texas. It's so much for me. Like the spiders, they jump out here. It's so crazy. Anyway. That was weird. I saw that out the corner of my eye. I was like, oh, why is it jumping so high? Anyway, gender roles. I go around YouTube, and a lot of you may be here because of this, and I personally promote my channel. So I'll go to like hot button videos. I'll find people that make interesting comments or ignorant comments. It doesn't really matter. And I might comment back to them and like invite them to my channel. And I do that because I like to have a dialogue with people. And I like to have a dialogue with people because my ultimate hope is that we take action in some way. And so for organization, it really takes open dialogue. And I think that that's so important. But that talking is really merged with behavior, right? So with that said, in a conversation, somebody said something to me, and I never realized that men felt this way. And that was that with the feminist movement, men kind of feel like, well, if you guys want to basically act like men, then we're not going to do our jobs, essentially. You know what I mean? And my reaction was kind of like, why should I have to suffer? You know, I'm not, you guys know I have a cold, so just hold on. So my attitude was like, why should I have to suffer for the loudest, most belligerent members of my sex? Because I feel that, honestly, most women want a man that they can look up to because that person is intellectually superior to them, morally superior to them, financially superior to them, temperamentally superior to them. I know for me, when I look at a man, I respect a man that is my superior, right? I'm not looking for anybody who is really beta that I can run over. Now, some women are. Some women want a man that they can run, where they can be in charge of the relationship and they make the most money and they're the smartest one in the room, I don't. I want to be with somebody, and I feel most women feel this way, that makes me better, that makes me want to bring my A game to the table. And I think men want the same. I think men want a woman that makes them want to work harder, makes them feel that she needs to be protected, makes them feel that they are useful. That is my 3-year-old. He's a boy. He's a real little boy, and he has no chill, so I'm sorry. I think that men want women that enhance their manliness, right? In the same way that women want men that enhance their womanhood. That's me though, right? Because I prefer traditional gender roles. Like, I'm happy to homeschool, bake, and teach, young women and children with my days. Like, I feel that those are important things, and I'm comfortable with that. I'm happy to be led and be in submission to somebody. And I know that those are like trigger words for the feminists, but they're not bad things. And I think men are happy to lead and be dominant over somebody. So I think there are things that come naturally to our sexes, and that is okay. But I also feel that, the feminism movement has gotten so much wind behind its sails because men are allowing it. Like, honestly, if people didn't marry these women, have sex with these women, give these women the time of day, like if men weren't doing that, the feminist movement would die really quickly. One, because some people would just leave because they would be undesirable to the opposite sex. And two, because they wouldn't be able to reproduce, so they wouldn't have any children to push their weird views on. So I feel like a lot of what's wrong falls to the man. And And when I talked about my fatherless Black homes, when I did my fatherless Black homes video, I touched on this just within the Black community as well. Now, speaking of traditional gender roles, something that I've gotten a lot of pushback for, because I've said in previous videos that I identify as Christian first, and no, I'm not the most amazing Christian on earth. I'm not claiming that, but I do identify as Christian first. I am a Christian. And I identify according to my phenotype second, so I identify with people who look like me and situations that are unique to the experience of people of my phenotype. And then I think about us as a community of human beings. You know what I mean? Because we need to be strong in our individual pockets, because there are pockets. I didn't create them. There are, in order for us to be strong as a human culture, right? So with that said, I was in some conversations, both in the virtual world and the real world, about why it is I think it's different for me as a woman to pick a person that is of a different ethnicity than it is for a man to pick a person that's of a different ethnicity. And this is what I said. This goes back to gender roles. As a woman who takes a traditional role, I choose my partners based on the men who approach me. And so if the majority of people that approach me don't look like me, then I will pick from individuals that approach me, men that I feel are the best, of what is on my table. And so I will look at that man's qualities, all of the things I mentioned before, his leadership, his stability, whether or not I feel that, this person challenges me to be a better woman, or to step deeper into my role as a woman. And then I will pick that person, right? But as a man, you guys have a choice, and I am not jealous of this. I cannot imagine a world where I really had to approach, there goes my 3-year-old again, where I really had to approach absolutely everybody and just take rejection or exception. That is so much work, and I'm so glad I'm not a guy. But also, because I'm not a leader of my community, right? I can guide children, I can guide other women, but I can't guide men. You guys are at the top of the food chain when it comes to that. So I feel like for that reason, it is different. Do you know what I mean? And that it makes it different, because we're not the same. And I commented to one young man who's probably young enough to be my child, because I think a lot of people don't realize that I'm like really old. So I think he's literally young enough to be, I think he's probably about the age of my son that's in Japan. So I commented, to one guy, I said, I think it's weird for you to even compare yourself to me, because I'm a woman and you're a man. Like, we're not the same. Your whole basis for this is off. Like, you just can't start comparing the two of us, because I'm not a guy. So unless you're trying to bring yourself down, to the level of a woman, or put me on the level of a man, then it's just a weird comparison to make. And I know some women are going to go like, bring you down, bring himself down to the level of a woman. Please don't get hypersensitive about the verbiage. I'm just talking about in the hierarchy of things. So I guess on this little ramble, because this is kind of like a ramble. I don't know if it's a rant, because I'm not like hyper energetic, but it is a little bit of a ramble. I guess where I'm going with this is that society would be a better place if men simply took their place and stopped pointing at women. Like, well, you did this. Well, you guys aren't doing that. Well, you're not allowing this and that. At the end of the day, you guys have to take a leadership position to be worthy of being submitted to and followed and things like that. And as a woman, I can't make you guys do that. Do you know what I mean? But I will say this. When a man doesn't do that, it forces us women into a position where we have to do it. It really does. It kind of backs us into a corner. So I've literally dealt with men in my lifetime who are like women. They are indecisive. They don't know. There's what do you want, and then I have to step up, and it's not a comfortable place to be. And obviously those are men I cannot respect, And so I think, and I touched on this. I have a video like, do nice guys really finish last? And I was like, no, weak guys finish last, not nice. You can be nice and not be weak. There's a difference. But overall, I find that our men are weak. And they're so weak that when challenged with a woman or a group of women that's unruly, their go-to function is just to be like, I just give up. Oh, I'm not going to try this, They don't want to take responsibility to do their jobs as men. And it's not easy. As a mother, it's not easy. I have a little boy, my little baby, and he is a handful. But I just don't go, you know what? I'm just not going to do this. Like, discipline. Sometimes my kids don't want to do their schoolwork. I just throw my hands up and go, you know what? The heck with it. You don't need to read. I don't even care if you read, and then blame them. You know what I mean? So I feel like men do that. On one hand, you have all these men that know their place, but then they're like, I'm just not going to take my place because women don't automatically fall into theirs. It's wrong in two ways. Number one, it will never help women fall into their rightful place. And number two, it punishes women like me who prefer traditional roles by way of overwhelmingly having men who abandon their traditional role. Then who do we pick from? You know what I mean? Who do we pick from? You would be surprised how difficult it is to find men who are happy, comfortable, and capable of acting as men. It's hard. And it's a totally different beast than finding a woman. I know some men will say, well, it's hard for us to find a woman who's, all of those things to the feminine. But here's the difference. You guys are in charge. So what I'm looking for, or women like me are looking for, is that proper leadership, right? And so it's different because we're looking toward having something, and you guys are really the authors of the climate. You're really the authors of the climate. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate to watch this breakdown happen. It's frustrating to watch this breakdown happen. It's an uncomfortable thing to experience. I don't know. Like I said, it's just a little rant that I'm on, just because of a couple of conversations that I had. Like I said, when I circulate myself, when people write comments and things like that, I really think about what you guys say. But like I said, I can only do my part. So for me, I try to work on like my little cooking videos. I have the school that I'm working on. I try to deal with, other women, specifically women that look like me in the community. You guys know I got sick on my birthday, so sorry. I try to do things like that because that's what I can contribute as a woman, is to focus on other women and children. But the heavy lifting is like all yours, guys. Like, you guys have to do it. You have to. When I look at causes, just say like in my community, like the fatherless Black homes thing, these women are reproducing with Black men. So Black men, stop having sex with them. Like, this would take care of the whole fatherless homes thing if you just didn't sleep with women you didn't want to marry. That would solve that problem. Or, sometimes men complain about child support. Well, what if I didn't want the baby and this and that? Don't have sex. Don't go spilling your seed in different women. And and then get upset because they give birth to your child, or, when, I don't know. I feel like I could just trace all problems back to the man, because at the end of the day, believe it or not, as women, we make moves according to what you guys respond to, Yeah, that's my 3-year-old. We make moves according to what you guys respond to. We really do. And when you stop responding, we adjust. Do you know what I mean? And so I think men have to just, first of all, get control over their penises, because I think a lot of men, the things men do are penis led. And then when you get control over that dude, then you'll be able to think clearly to properly deal with women in a way that elicits a response that's beneficial to both sexes. So, I don't know. My sinuses hurt, and this was a little bit everywhere because I wasn't really planning to make this video per se, but I don't know. I was just thinking about it, and I was like, let me turn on a camera and just babble on about it. So that's what I've done, and you can let me know what you think, because I'm curious to hear it. But more importantly than letting me know what you think, change your behavior in the real world. Marinate on it and then change your behavior in the real world. And just see, if enough men change their behavior, if that changes the climate of the environment that we're living in today. It could. Just a thought.